Two, I'd say when we ran the bill last year, that set up a process whereby we would review emergency orders, that this process was set up for this specific purpose, that as we get into as we get into the review of these emergency orders, we have seen on several occasions, and the governor highlighted this last week, that masks clearly don't do anything for Omicron and the current variant. And so I've likened this, the requirement to wear a mask, like trying to wave your arms out the window of a car to try and slow yourself down. And there are a lot of people who have looked at it and said, well, should we continue to do this? And a number of those have been school teachers who've approached me, and school administrators who are having a hard time with kids in school, not necessarily getting them to wear the mask, but the mental health issues that several of the kids are experiencing. And I'll make it very personal and just say that when I talked to my 7-year-old daughter about wearing a mask to school, she personally broke down in tears, and that constituent was and that impression was poignant enough for me to be willing to step up and end the mask mandate.
So Senator Vickers, you ran the bill to put together the process. Will you talk about that process a little bit so everybody's clear on it, that there's a process we go through, and this is part of that process, as I understand the bill you ran.
Yeah, and Senator Escamilla played a large part in that. She was involved in all the discussions about that bill from start to finish. So we set up a process. We decided, determined, that as you go through that, there's a layer of government that looks at it, and there's a layer of government that has veto power, and so it's kind of followed that course. It's followed the course of SB 195 through the process. The mayor declared. It's a little somewhat in question on what emergency order she declared upon, and if that emergency order was in place. That's something determined by attorneys. But the fact of the matter is, she declared, put an order in place. The county council allowed that to go forward, and then the legislature does have the ability to have veto power, which comes in the form of a resolution presented to the legislature. So as far as that goes, following the path that was set up in SB 195, that it follows through, and this continues to follow through.
So how do you respond to the criticism that you're intruding on local control by superseding the Salt Lake County Council and the Summit County Commission?
So I'm going to let them answer it, but I will say that process that you just put forward is part of the statute. If we don't act, then we're complicit either in accepting or rejecting it. If we don't have a resolution before us, we can't follow that process, because if statutorily we have the power to act on it and we don't, then we're complicit in letting it stand. So this isn't a local control issue. It is a process that was set up bipartisan, nonpartisan. I mean, it was a process we set up long ago. We're just simply following the process. And Senator McKay, I don't know if you have any comments.
No, I think you did well, President.
Can I add into that? So
yeah,
thank you,
absolutely.
Mr. President, because we did work very hard last session in the middle of a pandemic to create a process. So now we're getting into the issues of semantics as we get this to be implemented, right? So I can tell you our caucus opposes the resolution. We have serious concerns. We think as Salt Lake County residents, constituents of Salt Lake County, the 6 of us, and in support of the mask mandate, because we believe actually, there's mixed information, and the science is coming, and there's more information. This variant is very different, the Omicron variant, but we still there's enough evidence that masks are helping to reduce at least how fast it is the transmission. So to us, the process took place. Those counties, both in Summit and Salt Lake County, their councils agreed to this. It is true that the process now allows if there has to be a veto. Where the semantics comes and where we are checking as well is if we really need to state something on it. If not, we just say, hey, we accept that the counties are making their own decisions. We're hoping to work with the senator and making sure that we think there's going to be an ability. It's only a 30-day process. That's what we need to tell people. And I'm hearing the opposite, right? So our constituents are different, and we recognize that constituency differences. because my constituency was begging for a mask mandate even before the mayor acted and the council. So, it's, I guess, initial perspectives, not having that was also for many irresponsible and a lack of leadership from the county. So, we are living it one day at a time, and we're looking forward to working on this. But from our perspective as Salt Lake County senators, which we represent a large portion of that county, we really want to continue seeing that mask mandate in place.
And it's a little bit complicated by the Supreme Court ruling on President Biden's mask mandate that he imposed on businesses. They struck it down. And so
Yes.
it is something we think that the legislature needs to look at and needs to clarify. So other questions,
Well,
anything else?
it feels like there's kind of a lot of work being done to not do much work on COVID at all. Is the legislator simply accepting that perhaps there's nothing you can do? And do you think that that's good enough for parents who have kids in school and who are going to return next week?
So, yeah, I think everyone wants to talk to that. So, anybody that wants to start with it, if Senator McKay, go ahead.
It sounds like Chris has answered his own question. I'm not really sure if I need to answer it.
Well, I would just say that there's not another state in the nation. Look at the data. We have some of the lowest case fatality rates. We have the best economy. We've come through COVID. Again, there's been fatalities, but if you look at the fatalities, we've done very well. We've tried to get treatments out, monoclonals and antiviral pills that are coming. We've got a high percentage of the state that's vaccinated, those over 65. It's up in the 98% range of those that are vaccinated. But Omicron has the vaccinations or previous infections, it doesn't regard them. I'm going to give you some data that I just got. I hope I can pull it up here from University of Utah. And I know this is data, it's hard to absorb, but let me tell you let me give it to you and see if you can somehow make sense of it. In December 10th, a month ago, they had 102 COVID patients in the hospital. 37% of them were in ICU. Today, they have more, 106, but 12% are in ICU. And then this is again, University of Utah doctors, immunity from Delta offers very little, if any, protection against Omicron. If you've had Delta, you're not protected against Omicron. But if you have Omicron, it has significant protections against Delta. Now, if people are getting Delta and the fatality rates are higher, maybe Omicron helps protect them. Now, I know that's hard to imagine, but talk to the medical professionals. And that's what I'm hearing from the medical experts. We are not sitting back. We are not doing nothing. We're doing everything we can.
At this point, can someone please tell me the process with the resolution? What happens next? Does it have to have a committee hearing? Does it even go to the House since it's a Senate joint resolution? How quickly can you consider it?
It's on the top of the board. We can actually pass it today if we'd like to.
Is that the
Okay.
plan
I think yes, it is.
through the
Okay.
Senate
Yes.
and the House?
You'll have to talk to the House.
Does the House have to even consider it if it's a Senate joint resolution?
Yes,
Okay, so the
They
House
do.
does. Okay.
House to. And we can circle it today too. So we plan on at least hearing it and we'll either pass it today or circle it. So, but it's on the board.
And you'll solidify test to stay pause today. I guess there's going to be some legislation introduced.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll do also. Whether that starts in the House or the Senate, but it's on the board. Other questions,
Can you
other,
tell me how testing of lawmakers went earlier today? Is there a tally of like how many people?
there's a
finished?
handful of them that tested positive. And again, that's, thank
Handful of
you.
lawmakers or handful of interns?
You mean the whole staff.
I think it's staff. I think it's
So
staff.
a handful of staff tested.
And some
positive.
interns, you heard the,
Two,
I think 2 interns that were actually tested positive.
And no lawmakers, or did anyone?
I think we were,
no lawmakers that we're aware of,
none that we're aware of.
unless there's something on the House. I don't know.
Lawmakers did participate in testing versus how many didn't?
I
In the
don't,
Senate.
I don't.
You're tested as you walked in the building.
We'll get you some information, okay?
President, how are you feeling?
Stick this up here.
I'm feeling great. I've tested twice. I tested twice negative. And I feel like I've, stayed the 5 days in isolation. I mentioned my wife and how much I appreciate her. You know, I would call it a little bit of being in, I suppose, incarceration. She thought it was room service. I'm not sure which of it was, but I pick up my mills and stayed in the room, and it was a fun 5 days, kind of. But I feel great today. So,
You look great.
and yeah, I haven't had symptoms since last Friday. So a fever would be the symptoms I had.
They take care of priests, people at jail the same way, President.
I
They
know.
just
So
pick their meal up at the door.
it's hard for me to stay in one room, is what I'm trying to tell you. So.
There's another bill that was filed yesterday to clarify that state facilities in Capitol Hill are exempt from local health department orders, and also to close that loophole that Mayor Mendenhall used to require masks in schools. Senator Colmore co-sponsoring it. Do you guys expect to move quickly on that one as well?
So we'll see how fast we move on that, Bill. I'm not sure whether we'll move it quickly or whether we'll take it through committees, but I'd start off with the conversation saying that cities, they have a purview over a lot of different things, water, sewer, the things that they do well at, but they really don't have a health department, health professionals. Counties are the entity that have those type of services. And again, Senator Vickers ran the bill that pertains to that. Now, maybe have him and Senator Escamilla talk to it, but that bill actually clarifies some things that in Senator Vickers' bill that ran. So again, cities are, I think it's questionable whether they have the expertise or should be given the expertise to rule on pandemics. Seems like health professionals, health departments, county health departments, state health departments ought to be the ones that are giving the advice for that. But Senator Vickers, any comments?
Well, it's trying to think related back to the original question, was talking about authority over a state building, but yeah, in the process of SB 195 that we worked on, we determined that yes, the health department plays a role, but they're not subject to election. So we want an elected body to be able to have supervision and cooperation with, and then there also needs to be another elected body looking at that, as oversight. So.
Okay.
Mayor Mendenhall tweeted just in the last hour, we request the legislature acknowledge that municipal mayors have direct expertise related to any kind of emergency in their communities, and those mayors' authority should not be usurped for political retribution. How would you respond to both her point about retribution and to her point about mayor's authority locally?
I think I just did. So hope you, again, when you have pandemics, I don't know that she has a health department, county health department I'm aware of, and the state health department. I'm just not aware of a city health
Is
department.
this retribution though, that she's elected?
Not to my knowledge. Okay, heavens no. Any other comments?
Senator President, along those lines, do you feel like it kind of undermines what she's done, Mayor Mendenhall, on the mask mandate? Just in regards to what Daniel said about her tweets.
Let's go back to mask mandates if that's what we're talking about. Again, I think the Supreme Court has actually ruled on that issue. And I think they've been pretty clear about how they feel about mandates and what they think is constitutional. We think we have an obligation to actually follow through on that. Okay. Other questions? Welcome to the first day, by the way.
Right?
Okay.
When he said.
Lively.
When you said elected party to govern it, what makes the elected party different than what you have now as far as the expertise in order to negotiate the situation?
Well,
So
if
go
you're
ahead,
talking
Senator.
in context to the bill we passed last year and the process we set up, the public needs to be, the individuals that are making decisions need to be subject to the public as well. There's the public good, but then how you do that, that's through an election process. And so those elected bodies are the ones that have direct connection back to the public in order to have that, the authority. So bottom line is we want people that are subject to the public to be able to be making those decisions. And that's where an elected body comes in.
Accountability.
Yes.
But Senator, didn't they do that through the county council and county commission who also answered to them?
They did, Ben, and you asked me the same questions last year, and I'll give you the same answers. As we went through that process, Representative Peterson, Senator Escamilla, Senator Yamamoto, and others, as we discussed this bill, the fact of the matter is there needs to be layers, and there is layers. And so as you go up the channel, there's layers. So, you know, you've got the mayor, you've got the council, you've got the legislature. And same thing, if you have the governor in place, you have the legislature, so there's layers.
Similar type of appeals process, and that's what we're following. Are there other questions? Good to have it. You got a good group back there. I can't see to the end of it here in the caucus room. My office is a little more together. Go ahead.
I have a
Yes.
quick clarifying question. You say the test and stay bill will also be voted on today? You expect?
It's on the board. We'll see how it runs. There, you know, you don't know whether we haven't decided whether it'll run or whether it will be circled, but it will run this week for sure. It's a matter of whether it's today or tomorrow or
So
the
that
next
one
day.
won't have a committee hearing?
I don't think that needs a committee hearing. We've pretty much debated test to stay till I think we don't need much unless I just don't think it's needed right now. The governor's made an executive order. We've stopped this test to stay. It's not going on. We probably need to make sure the statute actually coincides with the current practice.
And can you explain what exactly when you run this bill, what exactly will it do? Will it pause it or will it repeal it? And what does that mean in terms of a practical application for school districts?
So I'm not the sponsor, but what I understand of it is it'll pause it until the speaker, the president, the governor, and superintendent of schools decides to reinstate it. So I believe that's what's in the bill, but I'll have to relook at the draft. I don't see the sponsor here.
Senator McKay or Senate President, on the, back to the mask thing, can you just let us know like what constituents and citizens have said? I mean, that's probably helped craft whether it was trying to, with those House bills, what went into that.
Okay.
I could open my email for you. You're welcome to read it. It's all available online, but I'll tell you this. The conversation over what is appropriate for the government to require people to do and what it's not appropriate for the government to require people to do. It's an ongoing debate that's happened since the founding of, government themselves. And I think it's an important balance when you think about what Senator Vickers said and talk about the important layers, right? Each of those layers is intended to pick up a new constituency as it increases. And I think in this situation, I personally have heard from people all around the state who would like to see the mask mandate go away. And it includes, educators, it includes businesses, it includes individuals, students, my 7-year-old daughter, who would prefer not to put a mask on if it isn't helping.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Looking to see if there's clear in the
In
pardon.
your opening remarks, you said the transition to renewables is inevitable. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Oh, yes. If you haven't, at least I'm reading the newspaper. Ford has their F-150 out that's electric right now. Chevy's going nuts. They've announced their new electric truck next year. You've seen auto manufacturer after auto manufacturer say we're not going to produce automobiles with internal combustion engines on this date. We're moving to renewables. I mean, you're seeing solar panels at everybody's houses. We're doing that. And you're seeing windmills. We're going to make the move. But if we raise gas prices and absolutely destroy our economy because with that interest rates go up, that is the wrong way to do it. We can move to renewables without increasing gas prices. Okay. I feel fairly strongly about that. We do not need to destroy the great work we've done with a great economy here and throughout our nation. So thank you.
President, on that note, from a policy perspective, what bills would you like to see advanced to push the state toward more renewable energy sources?
There's a lot of bills. I'd have to look at them, Ben, but thanks. I don't know which ones are out there right now. But I think there needs to be a combination of a balanced renewable energy efforts along with keeping our gas prices and our energy prices stable so that we don't cause the inflation that we're having right now. When you talk about challenges to families and parents, when they go to the gas pump and they're pumping $4 a gallon gas and maybe 5 and 6 into the future, that affects their livelihood significantly. We don't need to do that to move to renewables. we can move without type of.
Senator Bob Bennett, a long time ago, when I was on city council on Cedar City, came and met with us, and we talked about this very issue. He talked about the fact he'd had a discussion with his Senate colleagues and other legislators in Washington DC. You know, the goal was to get to a point where you could have many more renewables and maybe even a majority in the renewable energy sector. But he said, you know, I can believe in that. I can get to that point. But he said the bridge to get from where we're at now to there is fossil fuels. And so if you burn the bridge down now, you'll never get there. So that's, I think that's what the president is saying is, let's keep that bridge intact and affordable until we can get to the point that we've reached that goal of more renewable.
I mean, we've spent a lot of money on renewables, and you see Utah State's probably leading the way with some of the electric recharging and battery issues. It's an amazing time we live in. But again, it doesn't make sense to cause inflation and cause higher interest rates in the effort to try to move to renewables. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay.
Probably had to wrap up.
Yeah, anything else? If not, thank you for being here.
Thank you all.
You bet. Again, welcome to first day. We'll see you on the second
What a
day.
first day.
Yeah, it is.